and blessings, family. Sister Anjali. I got my paper towel already because I know I'm going to sweat. I just got a sundress on, but I don't show things like that because the Most High prescribes presenting yourself as a woman in a respectable manner, and I know He is for real, and He's the only rescue coming, so I'm going to bow down as best I can. Now, that said, Zaporizhzhia, I just finally listened to the pronunciation of that word, and I might have just mangled it anyway, or the name of a nuclear power plant located in the Ukraine. Ooh, oh, yeah, I don't know how much I'll make it, but there's a whole bunch of fear-mongering going on about Zaporizhzhia that I saw from the outset. There's one thing I know these satanic elites are trying to drive all of us crazy. And they know they can manage that much easier by fomenting anxiety amongst the general public. I know that during the whole scandal-epidemic nonsense that was totally made up, but they managed to lock people down. There's a lot of people who do no in-depth research, don't want to ponder their choices very much. They are of a firm conclusion that if the white man says so, it must be so. And they'll congratulate themselves on their intelligence and look at those who've done the research as if, they prepared a moniker for all of us to conspiracy theorists. When if they were capable of conversation, their jaws would just go slack through several floors all the way down to the sub-basement. So in all of that, I know Zaporizhzhia is just more of the same. What's going on is a phenomenon that I had reported on my other channel. I think I still have the video of where they put a brand new steel sarcophagus over Chernobyl. Chernobyl was real. They don't want to repeat it. Not for some military strategy, because when you blow up a nuclear power plant, the emissions just go wherever the winds are blowing. Alright? And it has far more radiological contamination dosage in it than you would get in a mother of all bombs, because you're dealing with fissioning products that are then completely removed from an ability to tamper down the fissioning process. And yeah, it doesn't stop. That's why with Chernobyl, they had to put a sarcophagus over it, because it's continuing to fission. And that's the deal. In these reports I saw, they realized that with the old they didn't say this, I recognized it myself, but with the old concrete sarcophagus, the reason why they had to remove it was because it was becoming so pitted because of the radiation. Nuclear power plants are the only damn buildings in existence that have a scheduled shut-off date of 20 to 30 years, 40 tops. So a lot of them are re-signing up to continue their on, off. I don't have all the words right now because it's hot and I'm just like, let me try to get through this as soon as possible. They have a shut-off date. Only buildings in the world. You don't see them saying that, well, the Empire State Building is getting a little old in the tooth. So with these buildings, they get torn apart by when these facilities are operating and they're controlled. Chernobyl ain't controlled. And so the sarcophagus, which I think was put on, it blew up in 1986. I think the sarcophagus was put on within a couple years after that. And so for them to have to change it in a total of, 30 some odd years. I'm not good with the math, but I do the best I can. Nonetheless, that lets you know it's still fissioning. It's still fissioning. So to put something that doesn't emit any of these radioactive particles and noble gases in steel so that it could look like it's better, they know that sucker's gonna blow. They know that. They might even be emitting or trying to open vents in it to let out the radiation, but there's a lot of folks out in the world with little Geiger counters or whatever radiation detecting devices that they have, countries, whole countries that don't want their population more irradiated than they already have been. Kind of. It's more that the politicians don't want to be irradiated, but in New York, Eric Adams, hope you were breathing deep. I don't wish any harm. I'm just saying, will ya? And so that some little hobbyist is going to say, wait a minute, there's some fissioning products in here that only come when there's a nuclear accident, such as iodine 131, which has a very short half-life. So that's one of the ways that you could identify, no, this is a brand new thing. And thereby, people are like acting like Russia doesn't have its own nuclear facilities. I think it's got like 50 of them suckers. It doesn't need Zaporizhzhia, okay? So I realized that they knew this from when the United States government went all the way back and started funding Ukrainian Nazis. And it was under Obama. They realized that Chernobyl's going to blow, because by the time something reaches the headlines of even the obscure news sites that I get these things from, they've known about it for 30-something years. So for the U.S., as I started at the outset saying, they want to drive us insane, but the satanic elites, they're thinking like the devils they are. They're calculating, they're psychopaths, they're despicable. But at the same time, they're fully functioning psychopaths. And thereby, they knew we got to find some way not to overcomplicate what people learn about. If they find out that Chernobyl's going to explode, then they're going to realize that, wait a minute, I thought this thing had already exploded. Why is it exploding again? People are going to find out details about man-made radiation that they don't want them to know. And that's why all of a sudden, you know, initially with the Ukraine war, they had Putin and his troops going into Chernobyl. And I'm like, what the hell are they going to get over there? Okay? And then they went to another nuclear power plant, I do believe. And then they're over at Zaporizhzhia. Why would you go over there? If you have a target, how many nuclear missiles does Russia have? But they all look like a bunch of lunatics when they want to blame Pookie and Ray Ray, all the black us, as being emotionally unhinged. They look like the unhinged ones. It's gotten so bad where they have to distract us that they've got one clown after another. And at this point in time, Biden makes Trump look like he was sane, but Trump is on board for the lie of it. He's an employee, just like the other ones, because he ain't say a damn thing about Fukushima. They gave him all the scandal-ademics so that folks could then have something panicky to talk about, because ultimately they know it's going to be hard for people to think straight if they're having just emotional breakdowns. A lot of people do suffer from anxiety attacks. More so, it's a more clinical way to describe what the Catholic Church is also dealing with, where they've had an upsurge in the amount of people coming saying they feel demonically possessed. And I would hazard a guess that that's because there's an awful lot of white people out there who might have come through my channel, other pro-black channel. There's only really a few that are genuinely pro-black. But you'll get, for a white person, they don't know that. But for them, then, when they could go to almost any channel, including full-on operatives who pretend to be pro-black, but will never really give you all the truth and all the data. And they'll talk about things, you know, like I'm thinking immediately, Cynthia G, how she came off initially, and most of us can kind of know that she was an agent from the outset. She was just getting, because you can't get our faith and loyalty unless you seem like you're on our side. If she had come out as a swirler at the outset, who'd be listening to her but the people who are already, the 5 or 10 who are already on board for bowing down to the pink man or the pink woman. And so these white folks are getting extra fragile. I mean, they're losing it. Oh my goodness. I hope you're paying attention when if it's not too upsetting to you to what they're doing on a constant basis, because they're highly fragile. I mean, when you look historically, these are the folks who they fall for a whole bunch of propaganda as long as it's presented as this is the next big thing. And they will use black us. We are a prisoner of war nation. They use us as such, where they keep us disempowered and then build up lying narratives, stereotypes about us in order to keep the white people deflecting onto us like we are the owners of any of the things that are really causing them problems. But white people are happy to go along with that because it's extra troubling for them to ponder there's something wrong with them, rather than examining, like, you know, just common anxiety, examining what is causing your anxiety and then addressing it step by step. I'm not undervaluing how, you know, like frightening an anxiety attack can be, but at the same time, I'm just saying, you don't handle it by running away. And when they use black us to deflect, that's their favorite form of running away. So I was saying all the crazy, you know, like governmental leaders where Biden is like cocaine in the White House. They're like, oh, this is ridiculous. This is a reality government TV show at this point. And thereby, when they started funding the Nazis with Obama, because they knew they could get away with it that way, and now they got this war that Russia didn't notice for how long? Didn't notice it's happening, and now you got these Putin and, you know, Biden, mother of all bombs. Even Trump was on board for that. In the meantime, they're paving roads in Florida with radioactive, what is the heck the stuff called? I'm not going to bother with it, because as much as if I don't have to edit this together, it's much easier for me. But yeah, they're paving roads, and there is no safe dose of radiation. I have read this in the growing numbers of books that I've read going over the details of radiation, coming from one source after another. There is no such thing as a safe dose of radiation. Even the doctor, whose name I believe the Sievert was named after him. I don't know if his whole name was Sievert or something to that effect. I just read where he even said there was no ever a safe dose of radiation. So they're paving these roads, and cars and trucks are going to go driving through, powdering, pulverizing that road, and you're going to be breathing that stuff in. Sorry, but suddenly you care about I've already forgotten how to say it. You care about that? Of course they don't. If they cared, they would have done something about Chernobyl. They would have done something about the populations, the teeming populations in that whole area that we're suffering from horrific, gotta edit this together, from horrific consequences of ingesting radiation just slowly and bioaccumulatively over the years and years. It's been over 30 years since Chernobyl, and so many people are just dying. They're just dying. I collect the stories, but I can't come up here and share all of that on the regular because it's just overwhelming, and they got us on every single little distraction there is, so that we don't see the narrative. We don't see that behavior, human behavior, makes sense even when somebody's lost their freaking mind. With these dudes, they've been told to act like they've lost their mind. Just like Umar Johnson with he was crazy for a little bit there, and now he's okay. Now he's pro-black again because he's lost a lot of credibility with that school. So he's pulling it together. Just like Black Lives Matter. I'm sure there's going to come a point where they're going to try to resurrect, because how else are these dudes going to make any money? They're going to try to resurrect their saliency to you and me. This is a strategy. It's not Zaporizhzhia that is the concern. It's all the man-made radiation emissions from every single nuclear power plant on the planet, where they literally vent every single, like Friday, I do believe, the radioactive buildup, which includes particle radiation. That's the one where it's going to just stay inside your body, and it's going to cause more damage than this photo. And that was a lab technician's hand who, before they started wearing the lead girdle, and the technician is in a whole nother room, they put the lead apron on the person who's getting the x-ray, he was just up in there turning the x-ray machine on and off, and that's what happened to the technician's hands. The radiation in one particle is more powerful a force than x-rays. It's gamma waves, it's beta waves, it's alpha particles. It's hell on a massive scale, but there are remedies. That's why they hide it, because there have been nuclear accidents that we haven't even heard about, especially when it comes to the military ones. Those happen on a constant. You see it, the Wigner effect. I could have told you they were going to shut down the airlines with any cockamamie excuse they could. The weather. No, they always would just fly around the weather, okay? But now all of a sudden it's going to just like delay flights everywhere? Stop. And especially on the northeastern seaboard, that was because of them Canadian fires and those radioactive skies. And so the Wigner effect, it keeps crashing these small private owned planes, which are owned by rich white men, and rich white men ain't telling their own a daggone thing. But these nuclear power plants and these accidents, that's just the feature of handling substances so catastrophically annihilating, where if it's in your body, I posted that, I don't know how many people read it, but they even have a separate term, REM, for the difference when radiation is in your body, okay? Then when it's just found in the environment. There's so much, oh my goodness, there's so many ways that they twist words around so they can keep everybody fooled. And most of the people who are agents, operatives, or even governmental leaders haven't got a friggin' clue what the hell is going on. They just do what they're told, and they do no research whatsoever. So they think that their McMansion or whatever the heck protects them. And where did you not see them orange skies? Did they like hover over one poor place and then they didn't hover over all the places? All you need is one atom breathed right on in, and there was plutonium up in those skies. And if you don't begin to know how to get that stuff out, if you're leading the Negro-pean Vita Loca in terms of what you eat and what you drink and what you toke, I don't wish you any harm. Our people, there's a couple people who I'm not going to cry, but YouTube will use it. If I dance up here, they'll use it as an excuse to get rid of the most helpful channel out here. I'm just saying, it is. Yeah, it is what it is. They're going to be affected too. That's why they got all that going on all over the place. I love to see them just quake. That's a beautiful thing, I have to say. All right, how long is this? Oh, this is long. Let me get on out of here. Go. 25,000 Year Cycle. Get this book. Assist me in loving you, because love is an action, not just something you say. So commit to your own actions to get this word out as far and wide as possible. With your assistance, ain't nothing gonna stop it. Okay? All right. Straight Black family pride, and we own everything. Peace and blessings.